Does that mean we're rolling? Rolling. Keep that something rolling.
Rolling on the river.
Okay, it's your turn to start, and do it professionally and correctly. Don't laugh. Don't screw up.
Hey guys, welcome to Wholehearted Living with Valerie
and Bennie.
We are the siblings who chat about living a wholehearted life. We are not professional. We are just chatters.
Okay, well, that's
You know what? Taking it back a year ago, the reason we decided to do this podcast is we both realized how much we like to live a positive life, live the best life, try to flip the script, if you will.
Yeah.
And we just said, hey, we have a lot in common. You want to do a podcast?
Yeah.
And so here we are.
Iggy, thanks for last week. And
Hello.
Thanks for keeping us in sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you guys missed it, Iggy was a guest on the podcast. So if you watch this on YouTube, you could see what Iggy looks like.
That's right. Now you're never going to see him again.
I'm back to being the voice of your conscience.
Yeah.
The voice of your conscience. That's it. All right. Well, last week we talked about you and moving, and actually me and my going crazy, like having to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
Patty was the one that actually told me to chill out. She actually said at one point, chill out. You're stressing. I thought she said you're stressing Peter out, but it was actually you that was probably getting stressed out. Or did Peter later say I was stressing him out too?
I don't feel like I was getting stressed out. I just felt like I was like, wow, he's very...
Task.
Yes.
When I get in
I think
task
Peter
mode,
did say that you were going and going and going, and I think he thought you needed to go somewhere. He's like, Benny, if you need to go, you can go, or something like that.
Yeah, not at all. That's the thing that's funny. And if you want to listen to that, that was last week's podcast. So let me tell you about my week.
Uh-huh.
So those of you know, I graduated. I'm all graduated, and so that's yummy. That's not yummy. I don't know why I was going to say that. I know.
Yes.
So now I've been waiting to get my associate's number, and that just means you submit a bunch of paperwork.
Was that the one where you said that Facebook notifies you?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
So Facebook notifies you, and then what's really been bizarre is I looked several weeks back, and it was like every 10 days or so they are fulfilling about 10 days, 8 days, but somewhere in that area of applications every single week. And then it came to my turn, and they did 2 days. And then it was like, and then they did 10 days. So I was like, oh, cool. So if they do, maybe they're back on the 10-day thing or 8-day thing, 2 days.
Oh.
And so then I finally am thinking, okay, hopefully this coming Wednesday, which is this past Wednesday, I'm going to find out. Comes out, and they did. It says your application. It doesn't say your application is processed. It says all applications submitted by this date
Next date
are processed. And so then I contacted my friend. So now what? She goes, well, I immediately got an email telling me that I got my number. And then she goes, well, did you click on the link and do this and that? And I said, yeah, and I didn't have it yet. And she goes, well, when I did it, I got it. So I'm literally in limbo because...
Wouldn't that be a bummer if like you did all that schooling for nothing and they just said, oops, we had lost all your stuff?
Yeah, that's the way I would say it. It would just be a bummer.
Oh, man.
Shucks. No.
So wait, have you contacted somebody?
So that's all I did was they have this like board or whatever that you click on and blah, blah, blah. So I did that, and they said 5 to 7 days, you'll find out something.
Okay, so that's just been 2 days, right?
2 days. So, but what's so bizarre is I've been waiting
5 to 7 business days.
I know.
Exactly.
And so this is the thing that's so irritating is that I waited and waited.
And you
I've
finally
been waiting, and finally it says it's been applied. It's been whatever processed, and I'm like, yay! And then now nothing, and it's even worse because I don't even know if they received my complaint. I don't know. It's literally just in limbo. It's like I just do what I do. I guess I do know because they did send me. You know how you get whenever you do something
and they automatically
send an email basically saying it sucks to be you. We'll
get to you when we can.
Yeah, exactly. So I do at least have that email, but it's not even clear because they always do that thing of what's your subject. Well, they don't have an exact subject, and so I'm like, okay, well, hopefully that's close enough. And so I, honest to God, don't know if I did it right or wrong. I don't know, but I'm gonna wait until Monday, and then I'll probably do it again. I'll probably just keep irritating them. So, and I also know for sure that they got it because they cashed our check because you have to submit something and they cash the check. So I started to wonder, well, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's when they cash the check. And then I reread the thing and I talked to my friend and they said, no, it's when they receive the application. So, because if it was when they did the check, it's not within that time period.
Right.
Because it was when I saw the date of the check being cashed, it was way later. So, yeah, I'm in limbo, literally. And so that's almost worse than before because before at least I could look forward to that date. Now I don't know what I did wrong. I don't know what I...
Well, it's even weirder because you probably wouldn't feel quite as in limbo if you hadn't talked to that person that said they already got their number.
Yeah, they got it immediately.
Yeah.
Well, I still would have felt in limbo because of the fact that they say... all of them have been processed. So it's like, well, if they've been processed, then what is there to do if it's not, if you're not, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you have to.
It's been processed, but now it's another.
What else are they get? What else
do
they get? What else do they have to do? And then why did you say it's been processed? If you have to do something, then it's not
don't
processed.
Tell me it's processed.
It's not processed. So there I am. So now I'm just waiting to find out what in the world I did wrong because I can only guess that I did something wrong. Yeah, that's the only thing I can guess because if
well, I mean, it could be a lot of things because you do a lot of things wrong. So
thank you.
Like put my purse on a truck.
Yes. And other people leave their purse where they said to take it.
I never said to take it.
Yes, everybody said it needed to go. Everything in the living room.
I still think that we all would have looked down and said...
Not all, because if that were the case, the three men that carried that purse all would have said something.
Nobody carried the purse. You carried the trunk and thought, oh, there's a random purse sitting on top of this. Let me see.
No, there was a random bag. I wonder what idiot put it on there when they said, take everything from the living room.
I need the microphone.
Oh gosh, my wife's gonna talk.
I love this.
Okay, so I told the girls, our daughters.
Yeah, you weren't
story.
here for our last podcast.
It's okay. Keep going.
She wants to hear it again.
Wasn't.
Trinity told us already.
Oh,
It's okay. It wasn't on this podcast, and I want to hear the story because I like it.
so I told the girls this story, and I didn't know at the time. I didn't know which person had taken the stuff.
Right.
And the exact same time, both of the girls go, it was Dad.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right.
But the thing is that it's because I was told to take everything in the living room.
A normal person would see a purse and not
It wasn't a purse. It was a black bag. And three people saw the black bag and they all buried it even that much further on the truck because none of us thought that someone would leave their keys in a purse in a place where everything was being moved.
I still think, even if it was just a bag randomly sitting on that, I would have thought, it's weird that this isn't packed into something because everything else is packed.
Oh.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just going to randomly throw this little tiny bag amongst everything in the truck.
With all the people doing what they're doing, have been better if it was placed in a place more secure.
It wasn't a grocery bag.
Thank you. It was a black purse.
It was a black purse.
It was a black bag.
It was a black purse bag.
With a strap.
Yes.
That makes it look like a purse.
And a zipper.
Yeah.
I didn't think it looked like a purse. I thought it looked like
Anyway, I digress. We talked about this on the podcast last week.
Yeah.
So it's
and we
funny.
just said we're not going to do it. And you're so excited to throw your husband under the bus.
Yes, I had to hear Patty's story.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I still think that you shouldn't have put it in the living room. And you even agreed last podcast. Everybody, Iggy, what number is that on? What minute and seconds? Oh my gosh, Patty.
Valerie should have put her purse, either left it in her car or on the kitchen counter.
Thank you. That's what I said. I said I should have put it on the counter. But what happened was, Patty, is that...
No, we're not going to do it. It was last week.
No, let me tell Patty real quick. I was coming in with the dog because the dog got out. And I went, oh my gosh. And then at the same time, Ray and Maribel are knocking at the door. So I put my purse down and I went to go run and put Maggie in the bathroom because the gate was still open. They're starting to move. And then I forgot it was just on the trunk because then I had to go open the door for Ray and Maribel. And then it was just like out of sight, out of mind, completely forgot. But yeah, you're right. I should have put it on the counter. But,
thank you.
That makes sense.
But I still, as a normal human being, would have said,
normal human being.
Is this anybody's before I go put it on a big
Iggy,
truck?
Wouldn't a normal human being say if somebody said put everything
Iggy,
away?
I asked you to be on the podcast last week.
All I'm saying is if I went into a storage area and they said everything goes, and then I took everything out, and then someone said, well, wait a minute, where's that black bag? I would have said, it's on the thing.
A storage area is so different than a house that's moving.
A living room where people said take everything in the living room.
3 women were there that could have owned that black bag purse, and you could have said,
so wait, are you saying that the 3 women are too silly to not know that everything in the living room was going?
Except
you don't like women.
Except that I said, wait, don't take that yet.
You said that to 1 or 2 people. There were 750 people there.
750.
Yeah, I think there was 4 or 5 of us.
All right. Anyway, we aren't going to talk about it anymore.
No, especially since I'm right. Okay. Well, are you ready to jump into our subject so quickly?
Yes, please let me know. Do tell.
You guys are going to talk about the bag.
Yeah, the black purse bag.
Let's talk about just being responsible with your personal items. So this is really interesting, my topic, because I decided this topic on Wednesday and wrote a bunch of notes. Mm-hmm. And what was kind of interesting is that you had Iggy on last week about his job situation, which we didn't directly get into this, but incidentally we got into it. But I wanted to talk about finances, money. Mm-hmm. I thought we would talk about money today. So financial security and mental health. That's kind of what I want to talk about. So first of all, when I just say that
black
too.
Purses.
So financial security means keep your things with you and put it in a safe place. So this is what we're talking about. And mental health would be, yeah, that makes sense that it's in the right place.
Okay, podcast done.
So honestly, just at a glance, when I say financial security, mental health, like where are you on that? If there's a scale that 10 is like, I'm the most content that I could possibly be with my financial security and my mental health, where would you... 10 is like,
you mean
wow.
Mental health as in tied to financial
only
security.
Tied to financial security, not mental health in general. And then, 1 is like, oh my gosh, it constantly is on my mind. I can't get it out of my mind. I'm freaking out.
I don't have that.
Ooh, wow. You should have a podcast with these excellent communication skills.
I think financial security and mental health, if I'm tying them together on a scale from 1 to 10, I would say I'm at an 8.
An 8. Okay. And describe to me why you're at an 8.
Well, because I don't feel like I'm financially secure in that I don't have any worries I don't have any worries, but at the same time, I don't link my mental health to it either. So, I mean, maybe
it's too strong of a thing to say mental health because you might be thinking I'm saying that you walk around depressed all the time. But I guess where I'm going with it is how do your finances affect your mental health? Like your current state and whether that has to do with how you communicate with Peter or whoever it is that you communicate with. How where are you at?
I mean, we talked about the whole fact that we bought this mobile home. Financially, I was feeling very stressed out of the fact that I thought I was going to, we live in Southern California and the rent is very, very high here. And I'm 60, Peter's 56. We're getting up into the retirement years or what have you. And it's like, I don't know if I can afford on a retirement income to pay, $4,000 a month in rent.
Yeah. Which, by the way, for the listener that doesn't live in Southern California, nowadays, if you want a 2-bedroom house in not like we live in a medium city, and we live on the medium good side of this city, so medium upper side of the city. But a 2-bedroom house is $900,000, right? $800,000
in your area. You go to
in our area.
You go
if
where
you go
I
to
was
Torrance,
renting.
Yeah, if you go to where you're renting, it's over $1 million.
Yeah.
It's well over $1 million.
Yeah.
So back in the day, you used to watch that show called $1 Million Homes, and nowadays that's just a shack. And
it's crazy. I think about our Sunday drives with Dad, and he would take us to Beverly Hills and go, "These houses are $1 million.
This house is $2 million,
and you're looking
and
at
it's
it
like
going,
nowadays.
Oh my God, it's a mansion, and that's the house down the street from me right now.
Right now,
and
right
it's
now,
crazy.
houses are $2 million. Yeah.
So all that to say, the decision to buy this mobile home was to be able to not have a rent
for the rest
thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So so I do feel better right now, but this is so woo woo, but I really honestly believe in God. And when I say honestly believe in God, but I mean, I do believe in God. I do believe that there's a plan, and I do believe that He's going to take care of me. And so when I do feel like that little bit of a stress of a financial burden, or what am I going to do, or what's going to happen, I always think, you know what, Lord, just remind me that you have a plan.
Yeah.
And I'm going to trust that plan. And
yeah.
so
how do you deal with financial stresses? Like if and when, like, this is not meant to be, I'm not trying to pry into I'm trying to get for our listener, how do you process things? How do you and Peter process things when you're talking about it? Here's another thing. Do you guys always agree, or do you guys really struggle with certain goals in regards to finances?
Yeah. No, we don't agree on a lot. We do now, but it took years. There was a lot of things that happened, and I think I've shared them on the show before, but there was a lot of things that happened that financially weren't the best decisions on Peter's part, and he knows those decisions, but you just kind of move past it.
Yeah, it is where it is.
Yeah.
Well, here, and I don't mean to throw anybody under the bus. It's just there's differences. So one of the things, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because in coaching and therapy, it's like finances often jumps up as an issue. And for those of you that might not be aware, but finances is one of the significant reasons why people divorce and why there's conflict. And it usually has to do with the spender saver mentality. Like there's one person's a spender, one person's a saver. Our dad was a saver, man. And Mom was apathetic, I think. I don't think she was a spender. Do you think Mom was a spender?
She was a spender in a different way. She was a very frugal spender, if that makes sense. Like she didn't spend out of her means, but when she did spend, she was also very, like, she bought her clothes at Gemco. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It wasn't like she was
Which is like our day and age
Target
Walmart.
Or Walmart, yeah.
Yeah.
But really quickly, I think this was on the podcast, and this might tie into exactly what you're talking about in terms of your relationship. I think I told you when we moved to the house on Doty and started renting in there, the house on 190th on Petronella, it was just a few streets down from the house we bought, our first house bought on Doty. And I had a very hard time. I was a runner at the time, and I would be running in the mornings, and I had a very hard time I didn't go down that street, because every time I ran down that street, I would break down and cry like that. We could be in that house, and we could literally almost have it paid off, because we bought it so long ago, it would be almost paid off. I mean, maybe not, because we might have had it on and whatever. But so I remember after being maybe a year in the house we were in, Peter and I got in an argument because I fessed up to how I felt about that whole decision of moving and buying a house bigger. And And I was okay with the move, but I did drag my feet on it for a long time. Like, are we sure we can afford this? And blah, blah, blah. We're fine. We could afford it. Peter was, doing great in the business and stuff. But when his business plummeted, it plummeted hard. And so, and then I just kept going back to, if we would have just stayed on Doty,
Right.
if we would have just stayed on Doty. And then I felt bad for him because I finally fessed up and told him how I felt. And he felt, he was upset. He got very upset with me. Like, I did all I could. I was, and he did. We could have never bought it if it wasn't for him. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. But, I did get it out of my system, and it is what it is. And I did feel bad.
Well, and that's the thing that's interesting is that finances are, so if you're single and you don't have another person that you're bouncing this off of, still there's people that struggle with their finances. And, then there's the comparison game. I just mentioned in couples, there's often the spender saver. There's also the people that are security focused. Like I want to do things that are secure. And then there's the risk taker. So there's different ways of looking at it. Sometimes there's pressure on one of the spouses because one person is really the breadwinner. And so the other person feels like, well, do I really have a say? Is this my money too? Or is it really their money? And
100%.
so, okay. Yeah. And so it's kind of like, well, it's really, they're doing it. So should I let it? And so can be problematic, for lack of a better word, because then they're not sharing the money. It's more like it's really the other person's money. So there's also people that just go into debt to get whatever the heck they want. They just don't care. And some people go into debt and go into secrets. And then there's a whole, if you really want to get into addiction, there could be porn addictions where you're paying for it. There could be, what's it called? Gambling addictions, which are huge, process type addictions. And so, but then people live in chronic anxiety, stress, blame, all that kind of stuff. Were you going to say something, Mickey? Or no? Totally miss it? I thought I saw you go to your microphone at one point and I thought you were going to say something. No?
No.
Oh, okay. Maybe Patty was just trying to steal the microphone to talk about the purse. Talk about
The black purse bag?
black purse bag that was placed in the living room with the other things that were told to go.
I think at this point, you're just never going to live that down.
No, I agree, Valerie. You're never going to live down leaving that in the living room.
Oh, my God.
So this is listed among the top 3 reasons why people divorce is money. And it really doesn't have to do with how much money you have. Because you
Just the different ideals of it.
Yeah, for sure. Because because wealthy people are divorcing all the time, right? So now they don't necessarily always divorce about money, but what's interesting is a lot of it has to do with your values. What do I value? What do I want? What's my future? Sometimes it has to do with perception because somebody is saying, well, we should live in this kind of a place because I want everybody to think of me this way and I need to drive this type of car and I need to have these kind of clothing.
There's that comparison thing where you're kind of have, what did it say? Live up to the Joneses?
Yeah.
What is it called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to live, if the Joneses buy it, then I got to buy it. You know, I mean, the Christmas Story type stuff where it's like, well, if their house looks like that, then my house has to look like that. I always think of Old Torrance, or not Old Torrance, South Torrance, the Candy Cane Lane.
Yeah.
I think when you go into that neighborhood,
I wonder if they look at different houses.
Oh, yeah. And you have to be thinking, okay, it's an investment over Christmas to live there, or you are like, because
Scrooge.
honestly, because when I walk around and you see a house that's dark, you're like, what's that all about? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, there are some Jewish folks, though, that put blue lights on, and that's kind of fun because it's a different thing. But at least they're not Christmas people, but they still celebrate the holidays. And they do it differently, but they do something. But goodness, some of those people put a show and serious money and time. Yeah. And
you're right though, because you're probably looking at it and thinking, oh, wow, they added more. Okay, I got to go add more. You know?
If I had to buy a house over there, though, I mean, that place is one of those several $1 million areas. But if I did end up being able to live there, you really have to plan on a significant budget for Christmas. You do. Because all the lights, it's got to cost $500 for that month minimum.
You have to know that you're not going to be able to drive through your streets easily during that time of year.
No, it's early in the night.
need to spend money on storage for all the
And
things.
storage.
And storage for
Yes.
sure. Gosh, some of those guys make their own stuff and they have like all the wooden
Huge,
stuff.
yeah.
There's a person that has like a whole Dodger doohickey.
Yeah.
And then there's a one person that I've never been able to find again. They actually answer a lot of the questions that people ask.
Yeah, they're right. There's a little like big sign. Yeah,
It's a pretty big
that's
sign,
like-
but I haven't seen that for a
yeah, I
really
don't
long
think I
time.
saw it
Have
this
you seen
year.
it?
I didn't see it this year, actually.
Yeah, it's been a few years since
Yeah.
I've seen it, but I loved it because it would say, "No, you can't use the bathroom. Only pregnant women." Second thing is, and they tell you about how much per month. For
costs
the
you.
month, it costs and whatever. And then what were the other questions?
I don't
that
remember.
But anyway, but they
yeah,
really get into it.
Yeah.
But, so here's the thing. So if you're single out there and you're saying, well, you really are focused on couples, the other area where I noticed that where I looked this up and I noticed it anecdotally from my own clients is lifestyle gaps with people. Meaning, if you have a friend who has more money than you do, it's, they're more than willing to say, hey, let's go get a drink or let's go out to lunch. And you're thinking, I can't do this every day or every week or whatever. It's like Starbucks, for God's sake. I mean, there was a season when I went to Starbucks all the time. Then I worked for them. And even Patty and I would go there. We considered it our therapy for a long time because we actually just went there and talked for hours. And then there was a time when, I mean, now it's like I can't imagine spending $5 on a cup of coffee every day. And I look back on some of these people, and they were spending $5 to $15 a day.
Yeah, that some people go twice a day.
And then some people are going in there and buying a coffee, and then they buy their whatever. But here's my point. It's not to say whether or not you can afford to do that. If you can afford it, good on you. I'm glad that you get to do what you want to do. The thing is that if you have a friend who's like that, then you feel a little bit awkward, and then maybe they're the ones that always buy dinner, and might be fun to some extent, but it feels bad if you're the person on the receiving end constantly. No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But I do worry about it.
Sure.
It's weird that you're the one that's constantly buying. So vacations.
No, it's true. I think I hear a lot with a couple people at work that are single. Well, let's go out. Let's go get a drink. Like, okay, and you can almost hear like, okay, how am I going to make this work? Or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's
interesting.
Or you're a single friend of a couple that has a 2 income, and that single friend's like, I don't have that extra money coming in like you do. And
right. Dinks, especially dinks, right? Double income, no kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. People go on vacations and you compare yourself, so, oh gosh, I want to be able to go on that vacation. Or they talk about their vacations, Patty and I nowadays vacation, more than probably ever did. We used to travel a lot, but a large part of that was work related or whatever. But vacation was pretty, we didn't do big vacations really. And now Patty and I, when it's just the two of us, we really like to travel. But I remember there were times when people would say, oh yeah, we went here. Oh yeah, we did this. And they're doing it 2 to 3 times a year. And you're kind of like, holy cow, how do you do this?
Right.
Like we already mentioned, going to restaurants, going out to eat. I'm blown away nowadays. This is something that's really bizarre to me is Uber Eats. And what's the other one called? DoorDash, right? I thought the whole point for me of going out to eat is like not doing dishes and sitting at a place where people take care of you. Isn't it weird that you
pay money to have them bring it to your house?
house, and then it cost. I've only used it once.
It costs money.
Did I use DoorDash or Uber Eats? But it was supposedly a good deal because they said your first order, you don't have to pay for whatever the charge is. Whatever the fee is. I was like, okay, cool. And I was really in the mood for, what's that ice cream called where you Cold Stone?
You had Cold Stone delivered?
And so I surprised Patty didn't I surprise you? I wanted to surprise you with it or something like that because I was like, ooh, I'm going to get Cold Stone. I don't know why we didn't go, but I thought it was going to be a good deal. And what we typically do is because what we usually buy is the peanut butter something or other, I don't know what it's called. And, but if you buy like the big one, the Love It one, it's like $7 or something like that. So we go for the big thing, whatever that container is. Right. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to buy one of those containers. And then by the time it was all said and done, I still paid, did I pay $35 or $40 for this thing? And I was thinking though that it was the big one because I thought for $35 it's got to be the big one, right?
Yeah.
It was like a little bit bigger than Love It.
Oh, wow.
I pooped a brick. I was like, I could not believe it. And my point in saying this is that I think that I see people doing this all the time.
It's a business. Yeah. It's crazy.
And I'm like, I don't understand if I want to be taken care of if I go out to eat.
Yeah.
And it's like you pay a healthy chunk of money for it. Right? So anyway, gifts, people that do gifts. So my point in today was I really wanted to talk about how all these things kind of affect us mentally. And so what's funny is that of course it's going to get a little personal, right? But I was really trying to figure out like, what's your experience or who do you know? And you just mentioned some friends and how they go about their finances. But I mean, have you thought through like your financial piece? Like you mentioned your faith, but what do you do? Like, how did you process when you were before you got in this situation where you now feel like you said you're at an 8 now? Would you say you would have been at a 6 before or something like that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like in the last year. I mean, when our landlord said that they were going to sell and we were starting to look for different rentals, because I'm like, okay, well, let's look for a different place and just kind of keeping our eye open. I could not believe the rent for, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, or, I don't know. I was just like, what the heck? $3,500 was the cheapest. And you're talking about a house that is not remodeled or any, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
We're talking just
very
like
basic.
Yeah. And
I mean, you could live in it. It wouldn't be unsafe or anything, but but they're not nice.
And honestly, that's something we could totally afford. I'm not saying we couldn't afford that. I'm talking about, I wanted to be in my retirement year. I want to retire in the next couple of years. And I'm like, $3,500 a month is not going to, I mean, that's all we're going to do is pay for rent. I pay for rent. We don't have anything else, you know? And, so I would never say I was at an 8 at that point. Cause, I was feeling like, what is going to happen?
Yeah.
But I also, again, woo-woo. I love my life. I love the people in my life. I know that God has a plan. So even though it did hit me at times, I was still sleeping at night. I was still, you know what I mean? I was still enjoying life. I wasn't like sitting up crawling like what is going to happen and that kind of thing. I was just like, okay, well, I can only do what I can do and then make the best choices I can. But,
go for it.
No. I could see how some people could become completely unraveled if they're always feeling like, what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to, I don't know. Again, I just feel like because of my faith, I always just really can rest on the fact there's a plan. And I really do believe there's a plan. I don't just say it because that's going to make me feel better. Like I do believe that.
Well, and it's so interesting too, right? Because I think of people, there are single people. I just told you that a neighbor of ours just moved into a very nice, it's a nice, totally redone place. It's our place that everything is brand new. Like literally it was completely gutted. But this gives you guys, an idea of what our houses cost, but it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 2.5 bath townhome for nearly $600,000. And so that's how much things cost here. But he's a single guy. I think he's in his 30s, right, Patty? Probably in his 30s. He looks like he's in his early 30s, probably. And he was able to do it. Now, we just met him barely. Seems like a really nice guy, very quiet. But he doesn't seem to me to be a partier and that kind of a thing. And so, and obviously must have a good, a nice job at least. It's certainly because to be able to save and to do this is a really good thing for him. It's going to be a really good thing for him. But I think of so many other people who are barely making ends meet. And then how do they live wholeheartedly when they're really struggling just to get, is it possible to live wholeheartedly and wonder, am I going to make rent?
Yeah. Right.
I mean, that's just a huge,
and a lot of people, especially now. I
Yeah.
think that because, especially where we live, it's very, very expensive. And
Yeah. Well, and you said something that to me says it's kind of the summary of this whole talk, which is we can only do what we can do, and then we have to let the other things go because this is not about finances, but I just told you guys in the beginning about the number, the associate number.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm irritated, and every once in a while I'll think about it and I'll start dreaming up catastrophes.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't even think about it. I had a horrible supervisor my very first year in supervision. And I just I have catastrophized that maybe she's said something
Found
horrible.
your name and
And then, complained and all this kind of stuff. And then I go, what, even if that's the case, it's not true. There's got to be a way to deal with that. My university, my current supervisor, other people, there's no way in the world that that's going to ever stop me. But it's easy to start drumming up the worst things that can happen rather than think on what else could happen, the good things that can happen. And I think about finances, and I think a lot of people think about the worst things that could happen rather than thinking about what are the best things that can happen. What's the best thing?
And we've talked about this. I think I brought this up as a topic, a podcast a few episodes ago, where we said, change the question.
That's right.
Why don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? Or what, if you rephrase it, it gives you, you can look at it in a different light, a different perspective, and hopefully that will help.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I mean, the other thing that's weird about our brains is that, our brains are just like, it's so funny because our brains are incredibly complex, but they're kind of stupid. They only do what, if you're asking your brain a certain question, it's going to answer it.
Right.
So if I say to my brain, I know that sounds weird, but if I say to my brain, what if that supervisor said something about me and did something? My brain goes, oh, you're right. What if they did do that?
Right.
And starts going down that rabbit trail and then really starts feeding it. And then I start asking more questions and the brain just answers it. It doesn't realize that it's a bad idea to answer it. It just starts answering it. So what I have to do is go, no, I don't want to ask it that question.
Yeah.
So I need to ask it a different question. So what can I do to get me to the next step? Have I done everything that I can? Okay, how long do I wait before I take another step?
Right.
And then, these are
Exactly.
questions the brain goes, okay, I'll answer those questions too. And
And we talked about this before. Your brain it takes in all your words. So if it's a negative question, it's going to go on with that.
It's going to answer it, and then it's going to let you focus on it. And this is 90% of anxiety with my therapy clients is this. It's the narrative that they're telling themselves.
Yeah.
It's all about the story that they have. Some people have significant reasons to actually be anxious, quite frankly, because of life circumstances. They have a lot of things. That doesn't mean they have to live in anxiety. Of course, that's why you go to therapy.
Yeah.
But the truth is that a lot of us create anxiety out of nothing. We're worried about things that really are unlikely to take place, but we catastrophize.
Yeah. And by the way, it's a rabbit hole, not a rabbit trail.
Did I say that?
You go down the rabbit trail. You're going down the rabbit hole.
Oh.
Just so you know.
Did I say? What did I say? Am I the one that said it?
Yeah.
Do you think that's where your purse is?
My black purse bag.
Your black purse bag. All right. Well, I actually, I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover, unless you have something to add to this little subject matter.
No, it was good. It was good. It is very interesting what happens with finances and relationships. And even if you're not in a relationship with a partner, it can, like you said, if you can't really afford to go out to dinner with a friend and you see your friends always going out to dinner, and it's like,
and if you're comparing yourself to others, and if you want to own, but you can't be, or at least you think you can't because you life choices or whatever. And so ultimately it's like, it goes down to what you said, for all of us out there that are you out there and us here that are faith oriented, we're going to say, well, God has a plan. and I just have to do my part and then just rest.
And that's a key thing, to do your part, because you can't just rest on it and say, okay, God, take over.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not doing your part, then, you know.
I always say God doesn't steer a parked car. So you have to be doing something.
You have to put your pedal to the metal.
Yeah, or to the carpet, depending what kind of car you have. Yes. Anywho, but the idea is simply this, is that I really think that if you're struggling with finances and if you're pondering this, then I promise you there's light outside of the world that you're focused on. Because if you're focused on the finances, and if you're focused, and if you have a lot of fear and you have a lot of anxiety around that, then you're not living wholeheartly. That's what it comes down to. And if you're having issues as a couple, then you need to seek help with that, because the truth is that if you're struggling with different values and you're conflicting all, and you're just assuming, well, we'll get over this, not always will you get over it, at least not well. And I would go one step further. Even if you get through it, meaning let's just say you don't divorce, you can certainly have a much happier life if you guys are on the same page, if you could work toward it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you're ever going to totally agree, but at least if you have a process and how you guys do that. Because honestly, Patty and I think we both have always agreed to some degree, but that's an interesting thing. I think we've always shared very, very similar values in regards to our finances, and we've looked at things very similarly. Can I say that? But there were times when all of a sudden a decision has to be made, and it's like, which one do we really want to go with? And then there's competing values, because then there's times, and usually for us, because everybody always says, especially back in the biblical days, everybody says, well, the man makes the decision. And for us, it usually meant no decision was made, which is a decision, I guess. But it was basically,
we couldn't come to an agreement, so we're just going to not.
They were going to leave it status quo.
Yeah.
We're not going to do something. And then sometimes, honestly, it was just whoever had a stronger opinion, because sometimes somebody was really like, we're going to do it, and then but at least in our marriage, if I made a decision or she made a decision and we went with it, I never threw it in her face. I never ever said to her, and she never said to me, well, if you wouldn't have made, it's like, no, we ultimately both made that decision, even though maybe you were the onus, really to push toward it. But ultimately I had the right, for lack of a better word, to say no. And I chose not to. I was like, well, you really seemed that this is the right thing to do. And if I was so adamant to say no, well, then she would have been, so anyway, everybody's going to have their own way of dealing with it. What I can say is this, is that if you don't figure it out, it could really be detrimental to your marriage. So
for sure.
Well, that was it, folks. I'm losing my voice.
Thank you, Bennie.
Can you hear that? My
I
voice
do kind of hear it a little bit.
Yeah. So,
I wish you could lose it more.
Yeah, like your purse. Well, folks, we are at Wholehearted Living _ we are at Wholehearted _living _podcast on Instagram, and we're on both Spotify and YouTube, and would love to hear from you. Push like or whatever you can do on those particular platforms.
Thank you. Good idea. Thank you, Iggy, for keeping us in sound.
Yes, Ixters.
And for Patty laughing and telling the most wonderful story ever.
Hit the like button if you think the bag should have gone in the trunk or not.
Yes. Let us know who was right.
Or if you would have thought that somebody would have said, is this anybody's purse?
Nope. Everybody, put on there. Bag should not have been there, or bag should not have been stored. There you go.
And share the podcast to see what other people say.
There you go.
There you go. That's right. Yeah. Share with your friends.
All right, you guys. Thanks for being here. We will chat with you later. Bye.
Ciao.